And I'm not taking down that tweet or acknowledging that my tweet violated the Twitter rules.
Up yours, woke moralist! We'll see who cancels who!
So hello everyone from the Kingdom of Cambodia once again, and today we are talking about social media addiction. More importantly, we're talking about Twitter addiction, because Twitter has rotted the brains of lots of people, just like social media in general. TikTok is the worst offender at the moment, in my opinion. But also with Twitter, what we have seen publicly is two older men, Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson, basically go through midlife crises in front of the entire world on Twitter. And I think it's fair to say, no matter what you think of both these people, I hate both of them, it's fair to say that they appeared to be more rational about 5 years ago, or maybe 6 years ago. And I've called both of these people out since 2018. I constantly say, back in the day, 2018, when I used to call these people out, most of my comments were just hating on me. And that's for a variety of reasons, but they did have a more positive perception back in the day. But nowadays, everyone sees them as either pathetically sad or pretty much unhinged. So what I thought we'd do today is go through the case studies of Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson's Twitter addictions, talk about the reasons why they might have these addictions, and talk about how it's like ruined their reputation, and just kind of like dissect why both men have reacted differently to using Twitter, before we get into a bit more like why people get addicted to Twitter specifically and social media, and how that can really rot your brain. And before we talk about all of that, I'm going to talk about like my views towards Twitter as someone who uses Twitter way more than any other social media, and just my general feelings about why people often like publicly melt down or really change their like views from being too much on Twitter and various other social media platforms. Because think of loads of people you know in the public sphere, either celebrities or e-celebrities, streamers, YouTubers. Think about the ones who've suddenly really changed, like really changed their whole social media persona. I think a lot of it is often to do with social media dopamine hits, and there comes a point where they don't care if it's good engagement or bad engagement. They just want the engagement because the engagement makes you feel like you are relevant and you're important, despite the fact you might just be getting engagement for being an insane person. But all of that coming up for you today. Before we go any further, please like the video, and in the comments, let me know, who do you think has had their brain rotted the most by Twitter? I'd say Jordan Peterson probably wins, but there are probably other examples, so let me know down in the comments. And because we're talking about Twitter, follow me at the Kavernacle on Twitter, but also on Instagram. Instagram is a better place to engage with me. It's also where I'm posting more about, me personally, rather than my political opinions, posting all about my travels around Southeast Asia, and that is all archived on the highlight reels on my profile page itself, segmented by like month, so you can go through and check out what I've been up to over the last 5 and a bit months or so. Also, consider becoming a patron. I'm trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible. At the moment, I have 2 travel vids up on the channel, and also you get access to my Switch friend code and the private patrons Discord server. Also, check out my subreddit and check out my second channel down in the description. So like I said, before we start talking about Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk, I want to talk about my own relationship with Twitter. So I've been using Twitter for about, I guess, 11 years now, maybe 12 years. Of course, my Kavernacle account is only as old as like my YouTube channel. But yeah, I've been using Twitter for a long time. It's changed drastically in the time I've been using it. Mostly used to be used to talk with my friends on Twitter and just engage with my friends, kind of like old school Facebook. Then it became like meme pages, more pictures, and then of course now lots of videos too. And what I've always basically used Twitter for is to keep informed on the news. And I think it's always been a really helpful tool on me staying up to date on just politics in general, and really finding creators I like to tweet about things I like and just keep me informed. And that's what I essentially use Reddit and Twitter as primarily, is a news source, is a politics source, is to read all these interesting things and keep myself informed. Of course, that's pretty terrible for your mental health, and I have had times where I thought, man, this is not good for me. But as someone who wants to know so much, and as someone who seeks out like learning about so many different things, I just can't get rid of Twitter or Reddit. And there's one thing I will say, I used to have a worse relationship with Twitter despite using it less, because when I had less followers, I guess you get the frustration of you're reading all the terrible things, but also you don't have the followers or have the engagement that you feel like nothing you say matters. And that's like a big thing of social media, isn't it? Like, you can say you don't care about the likes, you don't care about the views, you don't care about all of this, but at the end of the day, you want that dopamine hit. But for me personally, it's less about the dopamine hit. It's more about the validation of people thinking what I'm saying is like relevant and like insightful or funny and stuff like that. And that's what I enjoy using Twitter for now. But when I was more like irrelevant, so to speak, it was just kind of like, oh, read all the bad stuff. No one cares about you when you tweet or reply to people and stuff. So it just felt like more negative. I was saying to my girlfriend now, because she has made a conscious effort not to use Twitter as much, I just say Twitter is fun. Like, I use it because it's fun now. I use it because it's just fun to like engage with certain posts or tweet funny things. And I also think that's the reason I don't have as many followers as other people. Like, I have 10,000 followers. And I think the problem is I'll follow up like a tweet where I've made a joke by saying like Elden Ring is trash or something, or like Marvel films are trash. So I think people then like unfollow me for one reason or another. But I wouldn't say I have Twitter addiction, especially at the weekend. I don't really go on Twitter. And I think the main reason is because I use Twitter so much for work. I use the bookmarks to save so many things. I use Twitter a lot in the week when I'm working because I get bored and it's a quick way to procrastinate. But when I actually have free time, I'm just going to be playing video games, so I don't really use social media. Like video games and YouTube, I prefer doing that. So I don't think I'm addicted to social media, although I will admit, if you just deleted all my apps, I think I would go through some sort of withdrawal, although I don't really think I have an addictive personality, and I think I could get over not having Twitter. So I think we should look at Elon Musk first, because he is the Twitter CEO. So to paint the kind of landscape about Elon Musk, about 5 or 6 years ago, Elon Musk was viewed as a more liberal person. Conservatives actually didn't like Elon Musk because Elon Musk was pushing electric cars, and they were like, I'm going to keep my like petrol fueled car, don't give me like that woke garbage, and don't make me use like electric cars like a sissy and stuff like that. People didn't actually used to like Elon Musk very much, especially Republicans. And Elon Musk's Twitter was always pretty similar. Elon Musk's Twitter was always posting really, really cringe, unfunny memes, really, really stupid jokes and stuff. But around 2018, it took a bit of a darker turn. Remember how he responded to that Thai soccer team trapped in the cave when people wouldn't accept his idea about that stupid mini submarine? And then he just became increasingly more toxic during the Trump era. Remember, he was talking about taking the red pill. And obviously, like, Ivanka Trump like tweeted saying she was as well before one of the Wachowskis saying that she hates both of them. And increasingly from that point, Elon Musk has been pandering more and more to the far right, mainly because leftists now hate him and leftists make fun of him all the time. So we've broken his brain, and he's decided that, you know, no longer do liberal people like him for the electric cars and this vision of the future. People now hate him in the lib left because of his views on various social issues like transgender people or just really treating people terribly. And it also goes hand in hand with both these people, Peterson and Musk, in that Twitter and COVID-19 broke their brains firmly, because with COVID-19, Elon Musk being the terrible billionaire he is, he wanted to keep all his factories open with no safety precautions. So again, he started pandering more to the right wing who would agree with him on this stuff. That means Elon Musk's simps have changed from more like liberal centrist people to people who are firmly in the crazy wing of the Republican Party. And also, Elon Musk loves Twitter because it gives him loads of validation. Like, this guy is pathetic. Like I said in my last video, he was bullied as a child. He has a dad who hates him. It feels like a guy who has never had like genuine companionship and friendship because he's so desperate on Twitter. So then, of course, about a year ago, he offered to buy Twitter for the ridiculous price of $44 billion because he wanted to do things like unban the Babylon Bee, who often just write satire articles just praising Elon Musk. To start with, he didn't actually want to buy it. He only wanted to buy it when he backed down, and then a lawsuit from the Twitter board was revealing loads of his text messages and emails, making him look like so pathetic. So then he thought, well, it's actually better if I buy it. Now he's running Twitter terribly because it's all designed to make people like him as much as possible, doing stupid polls about like whether he should step down as a CEO, doing polls on various features, offering a subscription service for $8 a month for a blue tick. He's pretty much unhinged. But don't worry, well as being the CEO of like 3 companies, He's 24/7 on Twitter. He literally replies to every irrelevant right-wing account who might have a problem with Twitter. Of course, the most famous is that like Dogecoin guy who blocked me on Twitter after coming into my mentions insulting me. And that cat turd guy who he's literally on call for 24/7 when they complain about their tweets being throttled. But on top of being like the personal assistants to like really random right-wing accounts, Elon Musk also just tweets really, really unfunny stuff, but he also desperately cares about his engagement. But if you guys haven't heard of this, Elon Musk literally flew home early from the Super Bowl, called people in to Twitter HQ to work out why a tweet he wrote about the Super Bowl didn't get as much engagement as a tweet from Joe Biden. And I'm not making that up because he's so pathetically addicted to Twitter. And even just like scrolling on his timeline recently, so I'm going to share some tweets with you now. The most recent tweet I saw was him posting a meme about him stealing a meme, because basically all his jokes actually come from stolen memes other people tweet and he likes. And then you have stuff like this. This is my finest work. Please add to gravestone along with invented car farts. Next, I'm buying Coca-Cola to put the cocaine back in. 4.71 million likes, 800,000 retweets, 190k comments, and 311 million impressions. On the surface, you might think, oh, this guy is joking. He actually cares about that. Proven by him flying home from the Super Bowl to try and get Twitter to boost his own profile. Because remember, his tweets started popping up in everyone's timeline because that's how the engineers fixed the engagement issue. They just made it so everyone saw Elon Musk tweets. And I believe his tweets were boosted by like times 1,000 more than the regular person, because this is how sad this guy is. He genuinely cares if people like his tweets, and that's why he's taken such a far-right turn, because liberal and leftists don't like him anymore. The only people who like him are dumbass conservatives, so that is who he panders to, and that is why he has so many reactionary opinions. Whether or not he actually believes them is up for debate, but it's pretty clear the public persona he cultivated from like, I don't know, 2012 to 2017 was one thing, appealing more to liberal people who buy electric cars, and then the public persona of him from 2018 to now is completely different. He's literally just appealing to like Trumpist conservatives. So Elon Musk has a Twitter addiction, and like I said in my last video, he is reminding me so much more of Donald Trump, who also had a pretty bad Twitter addiction as well, posting at like ridiculous times in the morning or at night and stuff. But Elon Musk's case is more sad because he's just desperate to be liked, and he realizes that Twitter is the best way to feel something in the emptiness of his own heart. So tweeting stolen memes that aren't even funny, feel like they were made in 2009, and for your simps to like that makes him feel something. And getting a pushback on Twitter now makes him feel pretty terrible about himself, because he's tied his whole value to Twitter. And like I said, that is why he's made such a right-wing shift. I fully believe he wouldn't start saying all these really right-wing opinions in like the public sphere if he didn't have Twitter. So that is one side of right-wing Twitter addiction. The more sad side, the person who seeks all validation from social media, so much so they change their whole public persona to appeal to these people. I firmly believe this is more a conscious choice of Elon Musk. Sure, there's reactionary opinions based on Twitter leftists being mean to him, but I also just feel like it's him just trying to appeal to people who like him, right? Jordan Peterson is a way different case in that this is a guy who has severe addiction issues that appears to be like totally addicted to Twitter, so much so it's just completely rotted his brain. Like, it's completely fundamentally changed his brain. Because just like Elon Musk, like I said, I used to get pushback criticizing both these people. Jordan Peterson used to be seen as a fairly rational centrist, and a lot of people liked him, or at the very least, like, respected him. But with his antics on Twitter over the last, like, 3 years, it seems like someone whose brain has been, like, melted by Twitter and melted by the constant engagement. One week he says he's quitting, comes back the next day. And I'm going to get into this. It seems like he's at least aware of how toxic it makes him, but he just can't help himself because he's an addict who is also addicted to social media, and we're going to get into the science of that towards the end of the video. But now let's go through Jordan Peterson's like recent history on Twitter. So before Elon Musk bought Twitter, Jordan Peterson was of course suspended for dead naming Elliot Page. If you're suspended, there isn't like a limit where you're not going to be able to use Twitter. Basically what you have to do is just delete the tweet and you get access back. Like, I was suspended from Twitter because I tweeted a video of this Greek news channel reporting Hideo Kojima had done in Shinzo Abe, and Twitter said it was like spreading misinformation, so I had to delete the tweet to get my account back. And it was a pretty quick process. I was banned for like 24 hours. But just reading this story from back last year, Twitter suspends Jordan Peterson's account after comments about Elliot Page. He broke Twitter's rules against hateful conduct. Screenshots of the offending tweet from the account of the Canadian clinical psychologist have been posted online, and it read, "Remember when pride was a sin?" And Elliot Page's dead name just had her breasts removed by a criminal physician. So just afterwards, Jordan Peterson announced he was also joining the Daily Wire. So it made it seem like it was something coordinated, like he purposefully got himself banned to give traction to the announcement that he's joining the Daily Wire. Now, he made a whole video, which is just absolutely crazy, about him complaining about being banned for this specific tweet in which he dead names Elliot Page. I just want to focus on the last minute or so, where he talks about Twitter. And I think it's an important part of this because it seems like he recognizes how toxic it's made him and how unhinged he's been while using this platform. So let's have a look at this.
And I'm not taking down that tweet or acknowledging that my tweet violated the Twitter rules. Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who. Twitter's a rat hole in the final analysis, and I have probably contributed to that while trying to use, understand, and master that horrible, toxic platform. No doubt I owe some apologies for that, and I'm trying to learn. But it's a relief in some real sense to be banned. And I regard it under the present conditions as a badge of honor.
But I do kind of like what he says, that he says he owes some apologies for contributing basically to this platform and how toxic it can be, and that he's happy to be banned. And I sincerely believe he probably was happy to be banned because he's so addicted to it. And honestly, like with Elon Musk, COVID-19 and Twitter really rotted this guy's brain. He was retweeting every far-right conspiracy theory, all these far-right videos on like Parler and Getter from like Tommy Robinson. He was like posting on his timeline. And even me, as someone who's called out Jordan Peterson for ages, I'm like, this guy has like fully lost his mind. And also it was after he went into that artificially induced coma in Russia, specifically in Russia because nowhere else would do this. And also went contrary to his own like self-help stuff about personally beating things like addiction. He went under this very dangerous procedure to help beat his addiction. But it feels like if he's not still addicted to things like prescription drugs, he has an addictive personality, and Twitter has filled that void. He got suspended, but then Elon Musk reversed it, and he comes back, starts causing more controversy, and then starts saying he's going to quit again. You guys will remember this, but I'm just going to have to show you again. The New York Post had Yumi Nu shaking over SI swimsuit cover, and he writes, "Sorry, not beautiful, and no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that." Like, are you seriously telling me this woman isn't good looking, Jordan Peterson? Even if he doesn't think that, I don't even know if this is worthy of this kind of tweet. Of course, he got absolutely destroyed in the comments and then started crying. "The endless flood of vicious insults is really not something that can be experienced anywhere else. I like to follow the people I know, but I think the incentive structure of the platform makes it intrinsically and dangerously insane. So I told my staff to change my password to keep me from temptation, and am departing once again. If I have something to say, I'll write an article or a video. If the issue is not important enough to justify that, then perhaps it would be best to just let it go." Obviously, people saying the endless flood of vicious insults. My brother in Christ, you posted this just 13 hours ago. Then obviously saying this you and just posting the tweet back at him. Social media is indeed a vicious place. Here's an example, posting his original tweet too. Of course, this self-imposed Twitter exile didn't last long. So if you go on his page, you just see his tweets. He's calling Rishi Sunak, the Tory leader of the UK, and in quotes calling him conservative because Rishi said at COP26, "We want to rewire the entire global financial system for net zero." But then just a couple hours before, he retweets an article saying Rishi Sunak quotes BFG as he criticizes Roald Dahl rewrite. Then he's tweeting more stuff against people trying to reduce climate change. More stuff about transgender surgeries and stuff like that. So even on the same day, he's praising Rishi Sunak for his part in the culture war, talking about the wokies censoring Roald Dahl. Then at the same time, questioning if he's even conservative because Rishi Sunak is promising, more green energy. And one thing the UK is kind of okay at, despite the fact having a Tory government, is domestic renewable energy at least, although it's not doing enough to combat climate change. So laughable for Jordan Peterson to question if this guy's conservative, but it just shows you his brain is just firmly melted by being on Twitter 24/7. It's such a contrast to his old public persona. His own fans, his own audience, they hate how he acts on Twitter because it's nothing like how they view him on other platforms. So I just went on the Jordan Peterson subreddit and typed in Twitter into the search bar, and I found all these people basically saying like he's absolutely lost it on Twitter. So I love JP, but he needs to chill on Twitter. I think it brings out the worst in him. His podcasts and lectures are generally phenomenal. Seems the only time he makes a fool of himself is on Twitter. Gotta be precise in your speech, especially on Twitter. He's a sensitive individual, and in this case, it's to his detriment. I agree, it's kind of embarrassing. There is absolutely a strong sense of hostility in his online work since his recovery. In all honesty, I believe we may never know the extent of his turndown and the nuanced longer-term effects of his major benzo withdrawal breakdown. Initially, it seemed like he was coming back slowly with lots of awe and gratitude to be able to even see the light again. Collectively, this community was thrilled he was back. But the aggression and hostility is dominating his work, since at least online and on Twitter. Seeing him live last September, I was blown away by how coherent and passionate he was. Really do wish his human touch could shine through a whole lot more on Twitter. Otherwise, he's just ostracizing his community, tainting new listeners, and polarizing a new subsection of his audience. Love the dude, he's got some great points. I love his lectures. His Twitter is annoying, he posts too much. He'd have more luck if every single tweet was a video. I agree as well. On Twitter, he seems like an entirely different person. I think Jordan needs to get off the internet and take a break from the world. Every time he does an interview anymore, he gets all teary-eyed. I'm inclined to agree on all counts. Peterson has found his way into subjects and conversations that are far removed from his expertise. It's a shame that the old JP seems to have gone by the wayside, lost under slogans of anti-wokeisms and campaigns into fields far removed from his actual field and pay grade, such as climate change and politics. So of course, maybe conservatives will watch this video and so far disagree with me, but when his own very passionate fans on his subreddit, and these aren't leftists going on the subreddit, it's clear these are his fans saying this, and they're saying either the Twitter Jordan Peterson is completely different to the other Jordan Peterson, or it's symptomatic of the degradation of his mind and his attitude. He just feels like he's an authority on everything, tweeting about anything and everything far too much, very, very unhinged, not coherent, and he's really damaging his supposed legacy. But at the very least, I can admit, although I've always thought his politics were terrible and I felt like he's a bad guy the whole time I've been covering him, I can admit he used to be fairly rational and even fairly civil to a degree. Now he's just totally combative, really, really aggressive, and like some people were speculating, we might not know the full extent of his health struggles, but even if, he's okay now, it's clear that he has something in his personality that can make him addicted to things, and therefore Twitter might have replaced things. I like in Trainspotting how Renton in the second one is now addicted to running because he has to replace something from the previous addiction, and it seems like if Jordan Peterson has done the same, he's replaced the old prescription drugs now with Twitter, which he can't stay off no matter how hard he tries. Even after that, sorry not beautiful, whatever tweet, he still came back straight away, despite the fact saying he was going to get other people to lock him from his account. So it's pretty clear it's firmly rotted his brain, and it comes a point where you think he's not just addicted to the positive attention, he's just addicted to any attention. Negative, positive, he doesn't care. He just wants it. He wants to be fighting people on Twitter because it makes him feel good, or it makes him feel something, or he might absolutely hate himself for doing it, but he just can't help himself because social media is addictive, combined with the other problems we've been talking about in regards to Musk and Peterson. Now, on that note, I kind of want to talk about the science of why people become addicted to Twitter specifically. And Judson Brewer wrote an article on Psychology Today, Addicted to Twitter, Here's Why, back in 2019. So I just wanted to read some of this and discuss it. So from a psychological standpoint, Twitter taps into our natural reward-based learning processes. Trigger, behavior, reward. We have an idea or think of something funny, trigger, tweet it out, behavior, and receive likes and retweets, reward. This learning process causes a dopamine rush in reward centers of the brain. The more we do this, the more this behavior gets reinforced. Based on the evolutionary adaptive survival process that helps us remember where food is, our brains are now learning a new habit loop of survival. We can even track our own relevance by the number of impressions, tweets, and followers we have. The harmful side of Twitter comes in the same form. We feel angry at someone's tweets, our brain screams, "do something," and we instantly send a rage-filled tweet to that person. Same basic learning process, yet the reward comes in two forms. Self-righteous vindication, yeah, I got that guy, and approval, yeah, you got that guy. Someone tells us through a like or retweet, another dopamine rush for your brain's reward center. Looking at this from a scientific standpoint, we know that reward-based learning is one of the oldest learning processes among living things. With only 20,000 neurons, sea slugs learn the same as we do. The same positive and negative reinforcement loops are at play. Yet with social media, there's a critical part of this feedback loop that goes missing: negative feedback. When we're face to face with someone, we see the results of our actions both in body language and tone. And with all this feedback, it becomes pretty clear if we hurt someone. We are in the moment seeing what we've done. This is critical, as ethics experiments have repeatedly shown that we act differently if we feel personally involved versus doing something out there to someone we don't know, or if we can't see how our actions have affected someone. With social media, we can't see the immediate results of our actions, so the feedback we get is only from ourselves. We replay the tweet in our head, justifying or rationalizing our action through an additional self-reinforcement feel-good hit of dopamine, and through these skewed feedback loops, some of us have even learned to associate hurting others with pleasure. So of course a lot of that stuff might be like pretty obvious to people who know just generally about this stuff, but I did find it interesting that it just talks about like how the lack of like a human face in your brain really makes it easy to justify things. And even just reading that right now, I was thinking about myself, because I think I'm a person who has too much empathy, and that might sound kind of weird, but the problem is people will literally come at me on Twitter like with really hateful stuff. The other day I was arguing with someone who was literally like writing smears about me, like complete lies. And although it's kind of cringe to say I totally owned him, let's just say I didn't hold back in really roasting him and saying like bad things to him with the intent of making him feel bad because he's tried to smear me. And even in that interaction, I kind of feel bad because even though it's an account just with like a raised fist as a profile picture, I realize there's a human on the other end of that. And I just don't like being mean to people. I don't like making people feel bad, despite the fact they deserve it. So I'd say I'm not the best case study for someone who just tweets stuff without, thinking about the other person. But sometimes I do this. Like sometimes I think, well, this person deserves it. This Guardian journalist praising another Telegraph journalist today who's congratulating them on joining far-right news outlet GB News. I'm like, well, you deserve me to write something snarky under that because what you said is bad. And of course, I don't even think about that. So it is really, really interesting. But what I think with Jordan Peterson and Musk is it just becomes a crutch for them to really validate what they say for complete different reasons. But I think with Jordan Peterson, who spends more time arguing with people, it's just any engagement that fuels his addiction, like any hit. And I fully believe negative engagement can be addictive as well. Or I feel like you're at least tweeting something, I guess, that people have an opinion on and people care about. And I guess for a lot of people who increasingly lose relevance on social media, better be controversial, better be talked about than just fade into irrelevance, because you won't get that hit of dopamine of people paying you attention. I guess it really comes down to that. And I just feel like Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson, and Peterson especially, are really good case studies of how Twitter as a platform can really modify your brain and really bring out your worst qualities and more toxic traits. At the end of the day, it's in pursuit of something that makes you feel good. It's in pursuit of dopamine hits. It's in pursuit of all this stuff because these people are fundamentally missing something. With Jordan Peterson, could be because of health problems. It could be just because he wants to fight with people and he wants to send his followers after people and he wants to feel better than people. With Elon Musk, it genuinely feels like he just needs his attention because he has a lot of issues that he needs to work through, including having a terrible father, having a lot of his kids like absolutely hate him, and just not having anyone who really, really likes him, I guess. For him, they probably just like him for his wealth. So he feels like he can get that on social media by appealing to these right-wing fanatics and getting them to just like all these really cringe memes he posts all the time. So anyway, that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Follow me on Twitter @the Kavernacle, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.